the guys from Ping, they've kind of shown me how much the equipment matters.
I just love that I can hit any shot I kind of want.
We're going to be able to tell some fun stories about what goes on here to help golfers play better golf.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ping Proving Grounds podcast. I'm Shane Bacon, joined as always by Marty Jertz. And Marty, there are special guests, there are exciting guests, and then there are guests that are playing arguably the best golf on planet Earth right now. And we've got the latter today. Lauren Coughlin going to join us now from sunny Scotland. Lauren, is that what we'd say today? Beautiful Scotland?
Off and on sunny Scotland. Yeah, I feel like we got a little bit of everything. Typical Scotland. I was in shorts at one point today, and then it was raining sideways at one point today. So yeah, I got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you were saying that the Pro-Am was kind of everything Mother Nature could throw at you. And that was the first time you've played the old course in your life. So you got it in, are we saying 30-mile-an-hour gusts? Is that what we're going with?
At least, yeah. I mean, at times I think it was probably closer to like 35. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty brutal out there. But it's what it's going to be like all week. So might as well get it in now too.
Marty, there are podcast bumps, and then there is whatever happened with us and Lauren last week. We were actually going to do the podcast with her last week, and I think weather was an issue, and your tee time got pushed back, and it didn't work out. So, Marty, are we going with like the pre-bump or the post? Like, how are we doing this?
Yeah, this is we need a new name for this. Lauren, you got any ideas here?
Yeah, I mean, I would have done it had it not, been probably having to do it like 9:30 my time and having to go then get up the next day. But yeah, I think you probably like it might be a little bit of a both, like a pre-post bump.
There you go.
There we go.
I like that.
I love it.
You were celebrating at the Dunvegan post Scottish Open. I listened to you on the NLU live show and then the pod and all of that. It was funny. You were doing your job, if you will, jumping in with the guys and doing that. And I know I'm going to get into your relationship with NLU in a little bit, but you were doing your job there. But it was so cool. And if people haven't checked it out, make sure you go listen to the podcast, because about every 30 seconds, somebody'd walk by and say congratulations. And I think like Marina walked by at some point.
Yeah.
I think, did you say Kari Webb was there as well?
Yeah, Kari Webb was with Marina.
All of these people are walking by congratulating you as you're doing a live FaceTime in the U.S. I mean, that's kind of who you are in this space. And, I know you get I'm assuming you get a lot of comps to Max Homa on the men's side of golf. And I'm assuming a lot of that is not just your relationship with NLU, but just, your journey and who you are and how open you've been to everybody. But what is it like going from I'm a cool kid on the LPGA Tour that's got these cool friends to now I'm playing some of the best golf on the planet and my confidence level is at an all-time high?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, I would say, the last like month or so, just between Evian and then going to Canada, Portland, and then last week. In the best way, of course. But yeah, I think what I learned after Canada was just like the coolest part about winning Canada was all the support I got from my peers. Like I kind of I am very friendly with a lot of people and I have friends, but kind of when I'm at the course, I'm kind of usually in my bubble and I kind of do my thing and then I leave. I don't really I don't play a lot of practice rounds with my friends. I'm usually like, no, I want to go play at this time, so I'm just going to go play and I do my own thing, but I have a lot of friends. But I think it was a lot of the other people that I think, like Lydia Ko, like messaged me, right? Like as soon as I won, Nelly messaged me, Lexi messaged me, like Jin Young Ko messaged me, like all these people who I've like, looked up to since I came out here, and they're like, now they respect me and they have, again, I think just under the radar, just oblivious to myself, like didn't really, think they knew who I was, but they did the whole time. But yeah, it's been wild. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of words to describe it. I'm just trying to go keep playing golf and see what happens.
Lauren, what was it that clicked there in Canada to get you over the hump? Like, tell us a little bit about that week, how you were feeling going into it, how you prepared for the tournament, and just kind of your position round by round, and how were you quite nervous coming down the stretch, and kind of how it all came together for you there?
Yeah, I learned a lot, the 2 weeks before at Evian. That was kind of really the first time coming down the stretch that I had a lead at all. I'd had like a first round lead for the first time in the beginning of the year at Chevron. And then I think kind of coming down the stretch, I was kind of in contention, but I would never had the lead or anything. Nelly kind of ran away with it most of it, but I kind of was the closest person to her for a lot of the back nine. And then, so Evian was the first time where like, I was stepping on the 15th tee and I had the lead on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't quite get it done, but I didn't really feel like I lost that week so much as I just didn't win because Ayaka came out and shot 5 under in the last 5 holes, like started making everything. So while I was disappointed, I don't think it didn't really leave any scars or anything, I would say. It more, if anything, was just like, okay, I know what I need to go do next time. In that off week, so my husband caddied for me at Evian, but the previous 5 weeks before that, I had been working with Terry McNamara, has been caddying for me, who was Annika Sorenstam's longtime caddy. And so he came up because I live about an hour from where Solheim is. And so he came up. We actually went and hung out with Bob Rotella for like an hour. He had never met Bob. So I was like, he lives in Charlottesville where I live. I'm friends with him. Let's go hang out. And then we went and played the Solheim course. And I think that week, I just was able to really rehash everything that happened at Evian and learn what I didn't do. And so come Canada, I was in a very good space. Terry and I had just spent, a day and a half pretty much just together ourselves. And I just felt, I don't know, we were really starting to get in a rhythm as a team. And I think that was huge. And I think a big reason why I was able to end up winning at Canada.
Lauren, I hear this a lot from people when they win, or even when they go from amateur golf, collegiate golf to pro golf, and they start to kind of understand that you look at your peers or you look at the Lydias or the Jin Youngs or the Nellies, and you think they're perfect. And then the moment you get to start playing with them, or you see them playing in tournament golf, you realize that they're not perfect. They make mistakes. They hit golf shots that aren't great. Maybe they make a bogey here and there. Is there a level of starting to get a sense of what you needed to do to not just win, but be able to kind of play A minus, B plus golf and still see the results? Because the major results this year have been incredible. I mean, you've played great in the big events. Obviously, you have the 2 wins, but I just feel like the consistency has been there. And I'm wondering if there was something that clicked mentally for you where you looked around and said, these players, these great players that I love to watch do it, aren't perfect at the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I think, in college that kind of happened. I think for those who don't know, I mean, I wasn't highly recruited in this and all of that. And so I remember getting paired with, and when I was in college, Stephanie Meadow, who's still out on tour with me, she was like number one amateur, like most of college when I was there. And Leona McGuire was, number one amateur most of the time the rest of the time that I was in college. And so I remember getting to get paired with them for the first time and being like, man, I can't wait to see, like, what do they do? Like, what can they do that I don't? How can I what do I need to do to get better? And I remember being like, yeah, they do, like, they make a few more putts than me or whatever, but there's not like anything that they did that I didn't think I could also do. And I think that's kind of happened over the years as well on tour, finally starting to get paired with the Lydias. I've been paired with Lydia a few times this year, or a handful of times the last like year or so. And I mean, she's unbelievable with a wedge in her hand, but there's not really like anything else about her that I'm like, yeah, like I can't do that. I've never been paired with Nelly, never been paired with Lilia, but I mean, I've been paired with a bunch of, I've been paired with Runing, of a lot of the people now, and there's nothing that I'm like, yeah, there's nothing that they can do that I can't do. With a little bit of practice and work or anything, right? I'm not saying I'm just as good at everything as them, but there's like, you can look and see like, okay, I can see that. I can see that I could do that.
Lauren, tell us a little bit more about working with Bob Rotella. I'm kind of interested in that. How long have you known him, and how has he helped you, not only recently, obviously, but just over the course of your career?
Yeah, one of my really good friends from Charlottesville, Bubba, who love the shout out. He's really good friends with Doc, and so I think about in 2021 or so, he was like, do you want me to just text him and see if he wants to go play golf? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so that was kind of when it started. I just played golf with him, a handful of times. And if I ever need to text him or anything, like he's always willing to talk. But it's been pretty cool. I mean, he has great stories, and he's worked with, name him. He's probably worked with them on the men's side, especially. He works with Rory really closely, JT, Shane Lowry. Podrick, Davis Love III. Like, I mean, again, like name him, and he's probably worked with them at some point. So, listening to some of the stuff that he has to say is pretty cool. He has great stories, and again, you go and think that you're the only one that's ever felt certain ways at times, and what you learn from them is like, no, you're not the only one. Everyone's pretty much gone through similar stuff at some point in their career.
Do you call him Doc? Because that's really sick. Is that what you call him? Do you like text him Doc?
Yeah, that's what Bubba calls him, so that's kind of what
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, it's yeah, that's kind of one of those
Or
like,
Doc Rotella. Doc Rotella is another one, yeah.
because like growing up myself, Marty, I'm sure you were similar. Is Rotella was the guy. I mean, he was the
Oh,
books I
yeah.
read through. I mean, when I was having, I mean, Putting Out of Your Mind is on the shelf behind me. I mean, that's my go-to, and I'm really struggling. I think it's wild to think there are certain figures in this sport when you meet them in real life. And Marty, I'll nerd out at the PGA show versus like
Yeah.
I could see Mark Wahlberg walking down the street, and I would nerd out more if I saw Rotella. Like that's the world I live in. It's probably why I do this, but I mean, Rotella was our guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have his books on my bookshelf in my office at home because I was going to give them to my kid to read, and the pages are all falling out, and I got notes all in there. I was just looking at it this a week or two ago. So, Laura, that's super cool that you have this recent experience with him.
Yeah, I mean it was awesome. I mean, again, so Terry's been caddying for 46 years, and
just a couple.
yeah, and like he had never met Rotella, and so I was like, oh man, I just want you guys to meet. Like, I just want to listen to you guys talk, and like can't wait to hear like stories that you guys might go back and forth, right? And Terry was like, no, I just want to listen to him. He's like, I don't want to. And so what it ended up being was like, we were just talking about it was just me and Rotella talking back and forth about Evian pretty much. And Terry was like on the edge of his seat the whole time, just like loving it, as I'm sure you guys would have been.
Oh, it was, by the way, is there one thing that you said you talked about that he like pinpointed right away? I mean, like negative speak, things like that golfers can do. Was there one thing in those initial conversations that he saw in you? As you mentioned, you're not the first person to have these thoughts or these feelings or these situations that you're going through. Was there one specific thing that he noticed with you and went, let's avoid this, or we can change this, or we can work on this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it for me has always been confidence, not just in terms of like putting or whatever, just like overall like confidence in myself that I can win, I can be, a top player. Like he saw in me, I remember Bubba told me that he was like, he went to him after we're like 9 holes in, and he's like, so like, what's this girl's deal? Like, why is she not winning on tour right now? And he was like, one, at that point, it was putting. My putting was awful. But two, it was a lot of it ended up being just like, again, I wasn't recruited. Like I walked on at Virginia. Like I never thought if you would have told me at the beginning of this year that I was going to win once, let alone twice, like be on the soul, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, obviously that's what I was trying to do and working towards, but like that, my belief just in my confidence wasn't really there at that point. And I think Terry's helped me a ton with that because he was with Annika for 9 years in her prime. He has 69 wins with her, 55 on the LPGA. Like he's been around the best, right? And so like when he tells me something, I'm like, okay, like you've seen it. He's not going to BS me. He's not going to just tell me that just to make me. He wouldn't be working with me if he didn't believe it because he's mostly retired at this point. So it's like him telling me certain things has just because it's not anything that a lot of other people haven't told me, but like for whatever reason with him, it has just like stuck a little bit more.
I think one of the things, Lauren, about tournament golf is just it's so hard to win in general anywhere. I mean, Shane and I have a hard time winning our local club championship or little match play thing. Before Canada? When was the last time you won a golf tournament? Was it on the Symetra Tour or mini tours?
Yeah, I won. So right out of college, I turned pro immediately. Didn't have any status, so I played a couple of state opens in that summer, getting ready for Q school, and I won both the Tennessee Open and the Colorado State Open. And then 2018, when I was a rookie on the LPGA, I went down and played an Epson event and ended up winning that Epson event. But up until then, that was 2018, so that would have been the last time I'd won anything. I've money qualified.
I mean, you're saying 6 years. I mean, again, to Marty's point,
Yeah.
that is, I mean, it's learned, it's situational, it's uncomfortable. Like you get yourself in that position. are you leaning on Terry more than you thought you would? Or are you leaning on the Rotella conversations? Are you leaning on your own confidence? Or are you just out there playing golf because you're trying to close out a golf tournament? And it's a big, big golf tournament.
Yeah, when Terry and I first started working, like he came up, we were going to start working at Mizuho, and he was going to be caddying for Nasa Hataoka at the Founders Cup because the caddy that actually connected us, he's really good friends with Greg, caddies for NASA, but his daughter was graduating college. So Terry was going to take over for him that week just so he could be there for his daughter's college graduation. But on his way up, he kind of stopped through Charlottesville, and we spent a couple hours together just to kind of really get a feel for each other. How do I like things, this and that. But a lot of what he said was like how important communication is, and like if you're feeling, because I was telling them at that point, you know, anytime I felt like I got into certain points, I could feel the anxiety, I could feel the adrenaline, you know, like little things like that, or if I could feel uncomfortable, whatever. He was basically just like communication is the most important thing. Like I can't help you if you don't tell me what you're feeling. He's like, I still may not be able to, but like I definitely can't if you're not telling me what's going on. And so I remember at Mizuho our first week, I made a birdie on the 14th hole. Yeah, 14th hole to kind of get to within like 2 of the lead. I saw the leaderboard just like on accident. And I got pretty, like the leaders were still on like 7 or 8. Like it was not even like, I wasn't even really that close, but I got like pretty jacked up about it a little bit. And I ended up making a couple bogeys coming in. And I remember being like, man, I should have told him that I was feeling kind of like some adrenaline on that 15th tee, and I didn't. So I remember like texting him and like, I felt it. I didn't tell you, like it won't happen again. Like, and so pretty much that's just what a lot of what I've been talking through him, you know, like a Canada Sunday morning during my warm up, I could definitely kind of feel I was getting a little quick just because, you know, I'm excited, right? I'm one shot back of the lead. Like I'm playing really, really great golf. And I could feel, you know, I was just, my tempo was just a little quick and I could feel it. So I was, you know, I told him, and I'm sure he could see it, but so, you know, he talked through, I can't even really remember what he said, but, you know, he's like, of course you're going to want it. This is your dream. It's okay that you want it, but you can't let that extra energy like get in the way. You need to focus it in on what you're doing.
Yeah, I think you've kind of learned that skill of self-awareness, it sounds like, Lauren, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like again, it's okay to feel those things. Everybody feels them. But I've learned that like keeping them internal, which is what I've done for most of my career, just trying to get over it. Like just know I can do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, I can do everything myself. I don't need, you know, anybody's help. And it's like, no, like people want to help you. People want to, whether it's your swing or putting or whatever, like they want it. They're there because they care. And so let them help you.
Lauren, there's a lot of guys on Instagram that'll tell you if you need any swing tips too. I'm sure they could just reach out and hit you on those. Just, I mean, thousands.
I'm good there.
Thousands. I've been getting a few of those lately, by the way, because I'm going through some swing stuff, and I'm like, thanks, appreciate that. I didn't know I was going to get that either. You told a great story on the NLU live show on Sunday about something Terry said to you at the Canadian Open to the Lee Trevino line. Can you just share A, what he said, and B, how that conversation started?
Yeah, I think I don't really even know how it started, but I think we were playing a practice round either Monday or Tuesday, and he was like, you know, like Lee Trevino won 3 national opens in a year. You know, we're about to have 3 in like 4 weeks. Like, you know, we could do that. and then we ended up winning Canadian Open. And then, you know, last week we were talking on the phone about something about leading up or in the off week before Scottish. You know, we were talking about something, and he's like, you know, I'm just, you know, just letting you know about the subconscious know, you know, again, like Lee Trevino won 3 national opens in 1 year. Like we can do that too.
2 for 3.
2 for 3 now.
And by the way, what a call, Marty. You just throw that out there, just nonchalantly go, you know, Lee Trevino did this. I think Tiger did it as well, right? Didn't Tiger pull that off as well? He won, I think he might have won the US, the Open, and the Canadian 1 year, I think maybe in 2000, but not a lot of people have pulled off the three-peat. So we're gonna be pulling
It was back in 1971 too.
crazy. And we're gonna be pulling very, very hard for you. I mean, Marty, you're a guy that's played a ton of competitive golf, and you've won a lot of golf tournaments. You've played against some of the best players in the world. When you feel the leap happen personally, how fun is it to ride the wave? Like for you, how fun is it to ride the wave when it's rocking and rolling?
Yeah, no, super fun. I mean, I think Lauren, my like highlight of my career is I played in the PGA Championship at Bethpage, and I made the cut. That was like my life's dream as a working golfer.
Hmm.
And early in that week, I had a practice round arranged with Francesco Molinari, who just won the Open Championship, almost won the Masters. And I kind of had that same experience you talked about where, here's one of the hottest player in the world. I played a practice round with him and I was hitting better than him, so it was that kind of got me over the hump a little bit and like gave me that little confidence or that self-belief that, hey, I gave myself permission to do good, and I had my team going, a lot of just very positive things happening, not only with my mechanics and my technical part of my game, but yeah, I think just having that, something about having that holistic momentum, giving yourself permission. I think that what you mentioned about the national championships in one year, it is that little seed in your subconscious that, maybe you realize is there when you're out playing or not, but it's giving yourself that permission to win, right?
Yeah. That talk with Rotella, that was one of the things that we talked about. Like he talked about how everybody has this like comfort zone, right? For some people, he's like, it's people who always shoot between like 68 and 72. There's this like subconscious like comfort zone that if they're,
Mm,
if they're six over with four to play, they're going to make some birdies coming in to shoot to get in that number. Whereas if they're six under through 12, they're going to make bogeys coming in and always kind of be in that
yeah,
number, that range, right? Because that's where they think that they should be. They're subconsciously.
yeah,
So that was a lot of what we talked about, or what he talked about, like just getting over that hump. The next part was like you just have to subconsciously start thinking about it, like not really consciously, so that your subconscious will then kind of take over. So like just thinking about not just hitting the shots, not and making the putts, but like thinking about winning and that type of sense. And a lot of it was like visualization and things like that, that he talked about. But I was like, oh, I've never really thought of it like that. When I was in the early part of my career, all I was thinking about was the cut, right? So where was I? Always right around the cut.
yep.
And then eventually I started to feel more and more comfortable. And, I wasn't really thinking about the cut anymore, but I was always finishing between like 20th and 40th. And then eventually it's just gotten higher and higher. And yeah, I think that was part of it was Evian, I think, showed me that, like, no, I can win out here. Even though I didn't end up
Yeah.
winning, I think Evian showed me that I could.
Lauren, I wanted to ask about the relationship with No Laying Up because, they're buddies of mine. I've known them for a long time. I love what they do with their program with players, especially early on, with some of the players where I'm not exactly sure they knew what they were doing, but they wanted to kind of, promote and throw some money at certain players out there that they liked or that they were following or that they knew. How has that relationship helped your confidence? Helped, the people out there on social media, fans, things like that are following you, that are interested in you? What has that relationship and dynamic been like over the last few years?
Yeah, so in 2019, they tweeted out that they were starting the Young Hitters program, which
Right.
was basically they were sponsoring, like, I think it was about six guys on the Corn Ferry Tour. And I followed Tron and I followed like the main Twitter account. Honestly, at that point, I didn't even know that there was like five guys. Like I listened to the podcast, but I mainly just listened to the interviews. I didn't really
Yeah.
listen to the recaps or anything. I was like, man, I do enough golf. Like I don't need to be recapping every PGA Tour event, but I loved the interviews. And then my husband found their YouTube channel. And so he was really into them as well at this point. And so I saw Tron tweeting out that they're thinking about doing maybe someone on the Epson or LPGA. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to shoot my shot. So I sent him a DM on Twitter in like March. And I think he posted it, which is like embarrassing going back and reading it now, 6 years later or 5 years later. But so I messaged him in like the beginning of March. And in September, he messaged me back. Being like, let's do it. Pretty
Wow.
much was all he said.
Jeez.
Like it was like circle. He never
Left you
replied,
on
but
red for
yeah,
months.
for 6 months, and it was like just like it was like circling back, let's do this. Like that's literally all he said in it. Like it was like four words. um so then I ended up meeting them. I ended up meeting Tron and DJ at a coffee shop in Jacksonville after the Metro Tour Championship because I was going to be driving back up that way going back home. So I don't know, I talked with him in a coffee shop for like an hour and a half and just like handshake, like, hey, we're doing tourist sauce in like 2 months if you want to stop down in Pinehurst while we're there. I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then the relationship just kind of grew from there. You know, I got pretty involved with, you know, my husband again. My husband was huge fan of theirs too. And so he joined, you know, the refuge, their message board. And so like, okay, he was loving it. So like, okay, I'll get on it. And I've done events, you know, I've gone to their NIT, which is their like end of the year tournament that they do.
I think you
And
won it, didn't you? Didn't you
I
win it?
did win it in
You got a jacket.
2021. Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
jacket in 2021. Um, it was, yeah, I mean, and that, yeah, it was, they've just become really good friends of me and my husband. You know, DJ and Randy have both caddied for me at one point. Like DJ did a Epson event. Um, Randy did the Colorado Open when he was a couple years ago. Like, yeah, I mean, they've just become awesome friends, and every time I'm around them, you know, they all love golf, and it usually just makes me like golf a lot more than I sometimes just it's my job, right? So as much as I love it in a different way when I'm around them, more just for the pure love of golf,
Yeah.
less as like, no, this is just what I love what I do, but because I don't get to do a lot of fun golf, right? Most of my golf is work. And so it's always fun to get to go play golf with them because it's fun. And it recharges my batteries every time.
Lauren, let's shift gears to the last two this week and last week's Scottish Open. Had you ever played golf over there or been over and played links golf, or is this your first time over there?
No, my first time at the Scottish Open was 2022. So I
Yep.
played Scottish over there, and then I had to go do the qualifier for the British, which was at North Berwick,
Oh
which
wow.
was
The
awesome. Yeah.
qualifier was at North Berwick?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Wow. Sign
Yeah.
me up for that.
Incredible.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then I qualified for the British, which was at Muirfield. So
Whoa.
Nice.
like incredible. That was like my real. So like because I played Dundonald, and I like Dundonald a lot, but it's not
Yep.
quite true links golf, I would say, just because it's a lot of elevated greens. It's not quite as firm as I don't know. Like when I went and played North Berwick, like there was be a bunker, you know, like 280 out, and I was hitting like four hybrid to stay short of it, like when it was downwind, just because the ball just like does not
Yep.
stop. And so like it's just very different. Like that doesn't happen at Dundonald just because there's a lot more undulation and raised greens and stuff. So like that was my first
Mm-hmm.
real like, holy crap, this is what links golf is. And then really struggled in the wind back then. And then last year I was like, okay, I got to figure out the wind. The ball does a lot, especially off the tee. Like I got to get better at this. And so right before the Scottish last year, I actually switched from the Pro V1X to the Pro V, just because I'd kind of done a little bit of testing. I'd always played the X pretty much since college. And so I switched to the Pro V because I was getting similar launch, similar everything. Just I was getting like a couple hundred RPMs less spin. And so I was like, oh, I mean, just less spin, if it's only a couple hundred, like that makes a big enough difference to where like maybe my ball won't, especially in crosswinds, like do some crazy stuff. And so I switched and it made a huge difference. I made the cut at Dundonald last time for the first time and I played really well in the wind that week. And then went to Walton Heath, which was more park, it's heathland. It wasn't really links. So this was my third time over playing links golf.
Do you love it? Like, are you into it?
Very much so. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like week in and week out, a lot of it's just like, oh, hit it as high, land it by the pin,
Yeah.
like hit a straight ball, whatever.
How far does my 7-iron go? That's what I'll hit it. Right.
Exactly. Whereas this, it's like, I mean, I couldn't tell you how far I was trying to hit a lot of things. Like I had my stock 6-iron carries about 168 yards. Last week on the 12th hole, 3 of the 4 days I hit 6-iron and the yardage was between like 118 yards and 125 yards.
So sick. God, I love that so much.
Like, I mean, I was like, and in the hole before, similar yardage, but not quite as exposed. So I was hitting like 8-iron from like 118 yards or like 7-iron from 120 yards. Whereas like the next hole, it's way more exposed, a little bit more dead into, and I'm hitting 6-iron, like pin high. I'm not hitting full shots. I mean, it's just I'm just trying to get it just going through the wind as straight as I possibly can get it and just get it going. Like I don't know, it's a lot more fun. There's a lot more feel and like you have to be way more creative. It's a lot more fun, I think.
It's fun, it's different, it's unique, and again, if you embrace it, as you mentioned, the conditions this week expected to be windy and kind of nasty at St. Andrews. I was going to ask you, I mean, not just because of the way you're playing right now, because obviously you're playing as good as anybody on the LPGA Tour, and I know you're excited about this, and I want to ask a couple questions about the old course, but in terms of golf tournaments and anticipation and excitement, where does an Open at St. Andrews land on your list? Is it atop the list? Is there anything that can beat this?
I mean, I think the only thing that will beat it will be Solheim, an hour from where I live in a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
that'll be dirty, yeah.
But I mean, this is both of these two events are like once in a career type opportunities, getting to go play the Open at an old course and then playing the Solheim Cup in your home state, like an hour from where you live. Like those are like, people don't get to do like that doesn't happen for everybody. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm extremely excited, especially for this was marked on the calendar as soon as I knew. My dad and my uncle are getting here tomorrow. So it's gonna be an awesome week.
What was your first? So you just went around it for the first time today, where you just got off the golf course when we're talking to you now. What was your first impression? Granted, you were out there in some pretty breezy conditions and got rained on a little bit, as I understand it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was very windy, but I mean, it was pretty windy last week at Dundonald, so that wasn't too different. But it's a lot. I had heard, and again, I've walked it before 2 years ago. A friend of mine had one more spot open up, but I let my husband play, and I just walked.
Look at you. Wow. That's like you don't need to get a Christmas gift or
Yeah.
anniversary gift if you do something like that.
So I couldn't remember a lot of like the front nine. I knew obviously I could picture like 17, 18, 1. But a lot of the other holes kind of all blended together. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of just blind shots, and you just have to trust that, like, no, this is where you got to go. And so a lot of what we were doing today was Terry just being like, are you good with the line that I'm giving you? Are you good? Like, does that look okay to you? Just making sure everything felt good. I mean, there's times out there where like we're going to be hitting it in the rough probably on purpose. There's a couple holes just trying to make sure you stay out of the bunkers, just because there's no really other place to hit it. I think hole 12 specifically, like we're probably going to be hitting it in like the right rough.
Crazy golf hole. It's the crazy. I contend, and I've played a decent amount of golf around this great world. I don't think there's a crazier hole than 12. And Lauren, I caddied at St. Andrews out of college for 4 or 5 months. I still don't know where to hit it on 12, and I definitely don't know where to tell people to hit it. So I'd get on that tee at times, and I'd have some American golfer, I'm carrying his bag, and I was like, I kind of hope he doesn't hit my line, I tell him, because if he hits it, it's probably going to be in a bunker. That hole is just banana land.
Yeah, I mean, so the wind was pumping hard off the right, so I was pretty much going at the cart path today.
Which, Marty, I mean, that's almost out of bounds. You're basically aiming, I mean,
there is no out of bounds.
Yeah, I guess technically now, but I mean, you're aiming on another golf course to try to hit it for the best angle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually ended up just going into the fairway, but like that's where I was aiming, was like at that right. But he was also saying like left pin, I might go left rough.
Yeah,
for,
short
like,
of the course. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So, but like again, like that, like no one. Like you're never going to try to hit it in the rough in the U.S.
Exactly.
Right.
Unless
like,
you're Bryson. Unless you're Bryson.
Yeah. But like what my pro-am guy was like, you were aiming down that way? I'm like, yeah. Like I was like, yeah. We're like Terry put out the book and was like, yeah, those are the two places I have. Like that's where you need to go. And he was like, it took him a while to be like, because you can't really see the bunkers from the tee, right? So we're like, yeah, there's a bunch of bunkers like all right in there. So we don't want to be in any of those. There's no really place to hit it in between them. So yeah, we're going to hit it over here in the rough. And he's just like, I was like, what? I was like, well, Terry's gone like he's like, yeah, the rough's fine. It's like pretty thin over there. Like you'll have no problem getting it on the green. And as soon as he got up there, he's like, oh, I kind of see it now. But he was just like, what? His mind was like, he just couldn't comprehend that. Like, yeah, no, I'm trying to hit it in the right rough pretty much. And not right down the middle of the fairway.
What was the longest putt you had today? Because there's some long ones out there.
17 I think it was my longest one today. So I hit it right down the middle. We misjudged the wind just a little bit. We thought it was like,
What'd you aim at, by the way, on the building? What was your line? Do you remember?
yeah, so I think I was aiming again, the wind was pumping hard off the right. So Terry wanted me to hit it over the H and O in the hotel.
Okay.
And I ended up hitting it kind of just over the L in hotel. And it was right in the center of the fairway.
So great. So great.
But it was like right down the middle. But I had 175 yards, I think, to the pin, and I we thought like 170 was playing like 185, which is what we were trying to hit it. And it was like it was like kind of back right was the pin. And I ended up hitting like I tried to hit just like this punch like 4 hybrid, and the wind just didn't never really touch it. So it ended up going way back left of the green. So I don't know. I probably had 100 feet, probably close to it. Yeah.
Are you like this week? Will you be putting from off greens? To a certain point. Are you a hybrid chipper? Do you take like a 7-iron? Like, what's your plan for shots that aren't on the putting surface? But obviously, at St. Andrews, the grass kind of plays the same.
Yeah, I mean, if I can putt it, I'm gonna putt it for sure.
Okay.
But I don't mind hitting on tight lives, so I will be chipping probably too. But it's just gonna depend, right? Like if there's a huge, like if there's like some huge, like some crazy stuff that if I putt it, I'm gonna have to putt through all that. Whereas if I chip it, I can kind of chip it around it. I probably will. But if I can putt it, I'm gonna putt it absolutely. 11 today is like the caddies joked it's like the shortest par 5 in
Right. Yeah.
the world, right? And it was pumping in off the left, like hard off the left and in. And again, just kind of the wind just didn't really kind of get it, and I ended up over the green, which is like dead.
Deadville. Do not
Dead.
go long on 11.
No.
I can't give you much advice, as I told you about my advice on 12, but I can tell you a couple places not to hit it.
Yeah, as soon as we hit it and we saw it bounce, Terry was like, he's like, I cannot believe I just did that.
Just trying to make four so bad. Hey, by the way, Lauren, has Terry caddied at St. Andrews before?
07, yeah,
Okay.
07 with Annika.
Okay.
They finished 7th. He has his book, which is awesome, from then, which is sick. I mean, it's tiny compared to like the books that we have now. It's so small. But yeah, so he has all the notes in there from then, which is really cool. But yeah, so I'm way long and I end up going all the way down the swale up into the goal, like into the tall stuff. And I took my 3 hybrid out, and I don't know if there's no way I could ever do it again, but I hit it to like 15 feet. It was unbelievable. Like literally probably the best shot I've hit in like a really, really long time. I was like, God, this is gonna be such a sick 3. I ended up not making the putt, but bogey. He was like on the tee, Terry was like, you're gonna make 4 here probably a couple times, and that's gonna be a great score. Yeah, no, it's been super fun getting to play it though. I'm excited. I'm gonna go play the back again tomorrow, and so I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. Lauren, do you make any equipment adjustments for Dundonald and St. Andrews this trip over?
Most of this year I've used an H grind on my 58 degree, but I went to a T grind last week.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the turf over there.
Yeah, I mean, I had used a T grind most of last year, so it wasn't anything like it wasn't new. It wasn't new.
Yep.
But the H grind is new, so I switched to that kind of towards, I think during the Phoenix event, I switched to the H grind. But yeah, so Jack, the LPGA rep, had sent me one just in case I wanted it, and I definitely needed it last week. Like I was chipping around, and I'm like, gosh, it wasn't that the H grind has too much bounce; it was just too wide. The T grind is just a lot thinner, so it just goes through it.
Yeah, narrower for the firmer turf. Yeah.
Yep.
Lauren, you come off a win this past week, and as we were talking about with St. Andrews and the Old Course and the Open, I mean, obviously it's a big week. You played great in the majors this year. We've talked about obviously the couple of top 5s you've had. How do you get yourself right back into the mode where I'm going to go out and try to win versus being a bit exhausted or putting a lot out there last week to win the Scottish? How do you kind of recommit everything and re-energize yourself to get prepared and ready to rock on Thursday?
Yeah, so Canada, I didn't really get to celebrate that much. Just just how the travel ended up. And a lot of my friends were gone. A lot of my friends were at the Olympics. So like a lot of my friends weren't around. And so it took me a couple days, I would say, to kind of like really kind of not get over it, but kind of come down from the high and everything. And so we went to the Dunvegan, had an awesome time. Like a lot of my friends were like caddy friends were there and friends. And so I didn't really have it. You know, I chilled out yesterday. I practiced I went and putted for about 30 minutes, but that was about it. Um, so I haven't really had to come down because I think I actually got it. I got it all out, you know,
Okay.
on Sunday. Yeah, it's felt a little bit different this time. So, but I also think, you know, I'm very much locked in on trying to get ready for this week. And I think that's what I'm really, really focusing on. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get some good rest here tonight. I have a later tea time tomorrow, so hopefully get to sleep in a little bit. But I'm first off on Thursday, so
First
gonna have,
off,
yeah, so gonna be early morning on Thursday, 7 a.m.
where's the range? Is it like on the new course? What are they doing for range? Is it like over there by the clubhouse kind of?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's where they're
Yeah.
doing.
So
Yep.
they have it set up on the new. That's nice. You don't have to go as far as like the normal people have to go, and you have to go all the way over to there to that practice facility. Lauren, before we let you go, because we've had you for a bit, can you just talk for a minute about your relationship with Ping over the years and how that's benefited you throughout your career and how cool it is to have a club company that obviously Marty and I are such fans of, but that do so many things and has kind of a family environment feel to it as well as being such a big brand?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much played ping since I was like my first, I think, real set that I ever got fit for. My dad got me a set of ping irons, and so the ping G2L. I still have
Oh
like the
yeah.
pitching wedge, the 9 iron, and I think the 8 iron at my parents' house. So though I pretty much has always played ping. My dad loved that, you know, they were with the, you know, the whole color code and everything as it grew, it kind of just switched. And then when I got to college, Brianna Mao was a teammate of mine, and she knew Mr. Solheim just because of the first tee. And so my coach was able to get a really good relationship with Ping. And so I was able, and once I got into college, I came down there and got fit, like really got fit for the first time at Ping. And so pretty much ever since then, I've just always played Ping. They're the best, I think. Um, you know, great people like Scott Walpo he's no longer the LPGA rep, but has been amazing throughout my whole career. And I just personally love Ping. I love the look of the irons. I love the feel. I love everything about them. And so it's been awesome that I've been able to pretty much play them pretty much since I was little.
Since you got into it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Marty, do you have anything else for Lauren before we let her rest, go to bed, and try to go win the Open?
Lauren, just how excited for you are you about clinching your spot on the Solheim Cup and it being so close to home? Tell us just let's end on that.
Yeah, I mean I think it's just incredible. I don't really have many words yet. I mean, I'm so excited. I went to my first Solheim when I was at Inverness in 2021, and I remember being like, man, this would be like absolutely insane to be on the other side. And the fact that I'm going to get to do it, like I said, like an hour up the road from my house, like in my home state that I have lived in since I was 10, like I'm I'm trying to my best to kind of mentally prepare for the crowds. Like I don't know if I've ever played in
Yeah.
front of that many people, and just, you know, the emotions of that week that I'm probably going to feel. That's what I'm kind of trying to get ready for as best I can. Luckily, Terry's been a part of 9 of them, so he kind of
A
will,
couple.
yeah. But it's only his second one on the US side. He's done 8 on the European side,
Wow.
so it's I don't know, I'm just going to be trying to lean on everybody else, you know, that's been there, that because that's what I think I'm thinking about most right now, trying to mentally prepare myself for one, how busy that week's going to be from everything I've heard from, um, you know, Allison Corpuz is a friend of mine. You know, she was talking about just like how busy it's going to be. I saw
Yeah.
Stacy at the Dunvegan, like same thing, just like how busy that week's going to be. So many people are already, you know, oh, I'm going to come watch you, like a lot of friends and people that I
Yeah.
haven't talked to in a really long time being like, oh, can't wait to see you there. So that's kind of what I'm more trying to mentally prepare for, is just the excitement that's going to be that week. in the best
Yeah.
way, but trying to then also be able to prepare and play well.
Yeah.
Well, and Lauren, you think about the year you've had, and we talked about the 2 wins of playing so well in the majors, but also the Solheim kind of switching gears with the dates and it being close to home, and all of a sudden you have this opportunity that if you play well, maybe I'll make the Solheim Cup team, or maybe I'm on the radar, and you have this great a year with this Solheim coming up. I mean, it's the year of Lauren. It just is. It's your year. This is you know what, Scotty Scheffler, get out of our face. It's the year of Lauren right now. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's been wild. I mean, I set the goal right at the beginning of the year. That's what I was trying to get ready for, where I was trying to make the team. I think after Evian especially, and even kind of before that, I was trying not to think about just making the team anymore. I was like, no, I want to make sure that I'm best prepared to win as many points as I possibly can, not just go and be on the team, but actually contribute and play well. And that's what I think, that's where all my energy is going into right now, is just trying to maintain my golf as best I can throughout the next few weeks and the rest of the year. That's what I'm like, gosh, how am I gonna keep getting better? That's what I'm trying to think about right now.
Well, right now you're playing very good golf. So if you can keep this going, I think that'll play. Lauren, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I mean, it's 9:30 your time, so we
8:30, we're
appreciate
good.
8:30 your time. So we appreciate
right.
you rolling with us for a bit. Best of luck this week at the Open. We are fired up for it. We're fired up for the way you've been playing, and we can't wait to watch you at the Solheim Cup as well. Go out there and take down the old course. Just keep hitting like you've been hitting it. This is the Ping Proving Grounds podcast.